What's up, everybody? Youth1 Football Director here, Ryan Oliver. Today, I am joined by Brent Williams, head of NextGen All-America Camp. Brent, how are you?
I am doing great. Great to be here, Ryan. Appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, well, thank you for doing this. I've known you for a few years now. I've covered a ton of your camps, of course, the show. Brent, tell the people a little bit about NextGen, kind of the background of NextGen, and ultimately the show as well.
We started NextGen about 6 years ago with the idea that we were looking to identify the next generation of great football players. And our concept is really simple, was we started to recognize that college coaches were paying attention to younger and younger players. And we wanted to try to help identify those players and create an exposure camp modeled like the opening as it relates to going around the country and selecting elite players and then bringing them all together for one event. That was kind of our setup and kind of the model that we went after. But we wanted to focus on the younger players. So players in 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th grade. Our primary focus is 7th through 10, but there's so many elite 6th graders out there that we've actually started to allow some of those kids and to be a part of the show as well.
Right. And I mean, I can attest to there's so many talented youth athletes, obviously here at Youth1, that's our job too, is identifying these elite young athletes. And there's just so many athletes at a young age now that are receiving recognition. And I've seen firsthand how many athletes come through NextGen that are top tier. Tell me a little bit about the success of the athletes that have participated in NextGen.
It was really cool. Yesterday, it might have been the night before, but yesterday we celebrated our 2,500th offer to a young man who's come through our camps. And that was with Dylan Lonergan out of Texas. Out of Georgia, actually. Quarterback from Georgia, received an offer from Vanderbilt University. And Dylan has been a part of our events since, his 6th grade years. And we've watched him grow and watched him develop and just watched him mature into an elite quarterback prospect, which is the fun part of what we do. Yeah. You guys do a remarkable job of identifying young players early. And you're one of our tools that we use to help provide exposure. But the ultimate goal is when we see those kids get offers and get scholarship offers to universities, that's a life-changing event for us.
Yeah. It's always a joy to kind of see the athletes grow from that, especially if you see like Dylan you saw in the 6th grade. And, at Youth1, I think that he's been on our radar since about 7th grade. So it was a pleasure for us to see him, get these offers trickling in as well. Brent, can you give us some background into the show specifically? I know it's the nation's largest youth football showcase. Tell us the importance of that event.
You know what? Our goal is to do some of the legwork for some of the scouting services like you guys. Now, you guys cover all of our events regionally, so you get to see the kids as we select them. But what we found is that we do 10 to 12 regional events around the country. We pick the best players from each one of those regional events, and then we bring them together at one event and allow them to compete on a large stage against the best from across the country. In the last 2 years, we've had over 40 states represented at the show. And to have kids from Idaho competing with kids from Texas, it gives them the chance to show that, hey, I belong on this stage. And then it gives those kids from Texas a chance to compete from those great kids that they've heard about from Florida and Georgia in California and all these different places. But the best part about the show is the coverage that they get, and that the coverage is, you guys are there, Youth1's there, Rivals covers the event, 24/7 covers the event, Exos and their scouting services, and then a number of regional scouting services come out and cover the event. And because of that, it creates opportunities for all of these kids to be seen on one stage and very quickly improve their ratings. We don't rate kids, that's you guys' job, but we provide the stage for those kids to perform, and then you guys can do your work to find out who's a 3-star, 4-star, 5-star, or who's going to be the next great this or that. That's right. Our goal, is just to provide that environment and set the stage for you guys to be able to see them.
Yeah, and one thing I've always enjoyed about the show is the organization of the event is top notch. It's really, really well polished, and again, it's all these great athletes in one spot. I know the events typically take place in June. With the COVID-19 situation in our society, Brent, what has the selection process been like, and how has it been different from the traditional selection process?
Great question. The selection process is different in this way. Typically, we do events from January through the beginning of May or the end of April. That was our schedule for this year. Because of COVID, we shut everything down in April, and we did no events in April, no events at the end of March. And so we kind of, what we've done in the past is we do our regional events, and then we kind of do a video selection. We have kids submit videos to fill in those spots that we need, that we may have missed, or areas that we didn't cover. Because, I mean, we've had kids from Idaho and New Mexico, and they may not have the resources or abilities to get to one of our regional events. So we want to try to identify those kids as well. So this year, in a typical year, we do regional events, then we do our video selection, then we go right into the show. This year, because of COVID, what we've done is we pushed back our regional events to the end of May with the hopes that we'll be able to execute those. But during that downtime, we took in videos, which in this day and age, everybody has video. We went through over 2,000 videos, and we selected, usually we select about 40 to 50 kids a year. This year we selected 100. We had 2,000 videos that were submitted, and some incredibly talented kids submitted videos that didn't get selected, but we're hopeful that we'll be able to see them in our regional events and finalize the selection, because we still have 5 events left, and we want to execute those events and give those kids a chance to make the show as well.
Definitely. And I know the show is set to take place June 26th, I believe, through the 28th. Is that correct?
That's correct. It's June 26th through the 28th at IMG Academy. We had a great meeting with them yesterday to talk about different protocols and steps that we wanted to take. This is a different environment. The way we did things in the past, it's forever changed. Not just this year, but we're going to have to modify how we do things going forward. Right. So we're going to make some changes in how we operate, how we do registration, how we do check-in, all of those different things, how the kids are on the field. We're going through all of these steps and protocols to make sure that the event is as safe as possible. But the thing that we're stressing is our goal is to execute the event, but we're not going to compromise the health and safety of the kids who come to our camps, our coaches, the families. We don't want to do anything that would risk their health and safety. So that's our first and foremost objective, is to make sure that we can operate safely. And we're just prayerful that things by the end of June will have progressed to the place where we're comfortable and everyone is comfortable holding the event. Because I know the amount of talent that we have that's already registered to come is above anything that we've ever had at the event.
Right. Last question in terms of kind of the logistics with the show. If you're not able to put on the camps that you have set in late May, would the show still happen? And would you still take maybe further video submissions?
Yes, great question. We have looked at every, when I say every, Ryan, we've looked at every possible scenario. We have looked at, do we do more videos? If we can't do those camps in May, do we do more video selections? Yeah. If we're only able to execute some of those camps in May, how do we operate there? We've looked at pushing those camps into June and pushing the show back. We've looked at every possible scenario with the idea and the concept that we want to make sure that we are able to provide an event that gives those kids exposure, but without compromising the safety of those who are in attendance. It's just too big of an event. There's a lot of kids and a lot of attention that goes there. And then this year, we're looking at it. This is the thing that concerns me the most, is this year for a lot of kids, recruiting has been a wash because they couldn't get out to the spring games. They couldn't get out and show face. So we have partnered with a company that's going to come in and video every activity on the field. So all of those activities on the field, every 7-on-7 game, all the one-on-ones, all the things that we do throughout the show, will be packaged and sent to every Division I, every Division II college coach in the country, so that they're able to see that information and have the ability to kind of catch up their recruiting, because I know that a lot of schools, we've had a lot of conversations with different schools that have lagged behind getting to know our generation of kids, the 22s, the 23s, and 24s.
Right. And yeah, well, thank you for breaking that down to us. I look forward to the show. I know at Youth1, the show is a big tool we use to put together our rankings that come out in the fall. A lot of the athletes that we identified, we see them either at the NextGen camps and obviously at the show as well. So I look forward to, hopefully being able to attend. Hopefully everything works out in that regard. Brent, I wanted to kind of touch on some of the elite athletes that are in attendance for the show coming up this summer. And I wanted to start with a 2024 athlete that was number 1 on our Elite 101 and Rod Gainey Jr. From Florida.
We go through this process of selection every year, and we do it in phases. The first group that we invite to the show are 80 kids that we call them the Elite 80, that we recommend that come from last year's event, that were top performers, no-brainers. They deserve to be in the show. We give them early invitations. We invited those kids last August. The second group of kids that we invite, and we come up with these crazy names. This is the Dirty 30 group. And so we reached out to Youth1, Exos, Rivals, 24/7, and a couple other services, and we gave each one of you guys 5 picks to put in the show. Right. Rod was your first pick. Yeah. So Rod Gainey sees this, and he wants to know, how did they get me to the show? Youth1 is who recommended Rod Gainey for the show. So we got a chance to see his video. We got a chance to see him as a player. And I can't wait to see him compete at the show based on your recommendation. So that was a great pick. I know you stand behind your picks. I know you've seen them, and we're excited to see him compete with the kids. And he's one of those kids that's in the 2024 class that has a good opportunity that may end up playing with the older kids. And because we've had so many 2024s, we've had to set a criteria that you have to have a Power 5 offer in order to be able to compete up with the older group. And he's probably going to be one of those kids that will be in that category, because I'm sure he'll be getting offers soon.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm surprised he doesn't already have some kind of under his belt. I got sent his film maybe a year before we put out the rankings, and I was just blown away by his size and speed. He plays running back, for those that don't know. But I'm really excited to see him in the show environment in competing against the best of the best and see how he stacks. I mean, being number 1 on our rankings is a big deal. We take it, very seriously. Another guy that was ranked number 1 the year before that was Cody Shelton, and he was absolutely a star at the show. Yeah. So I expect the same thing from Rod Gainey going forward. He's a guy.
Cody has won 2 championships at the show in the 7-on-7. Finished as a runner-up last year. He was one of our early selections for this year. Yeah. And this is a big jump for Cody, because he's going to be going from the Platinum Division, which is our 7th and 8th grade group, up to our 9th and 10th grade group. And he's going to be competing on the big stage there. So I'm excited to see how Cody has developed and how that translates into his performance this year.
Yeah, me too. Cody's another guy I'm really excited to see how he's developed too. He's grown a lot since I last saw him in person, so I'm really excited. I keep in touch with him as well. Another quarterback I want to talk about here is Kamari McClellan, 2024 guy. I know he's been part of NextGen for a long time. Brent, why don't you talk about how Kamari has made another trip to the show?
He earned an early invite as well. Kamari is one of those guys who we've seen develop since 6th grade, and he was always ahead of where he from a grade standpoint. When he was in 6th grade, he played like an 8th grader. When he was in 7th grade, he played like a 9th grader. So we're excited to see how he comes out and competes this year, because again, this is another one of those kids that's right on the cusp of, as a 2024 offer, or a 2024 kid that may end up playing with the Diamond in the Diamond Division. and having the opportunity to compete at that level. And so those are the kids that we're excited about seeing, because I've watched this kid grow up. I know how hard he trains. I know who he works with. I know that his family is committed to helping him become a better quarterback. And he has the work ethic and the demeanor and the poise to handle being on the big stage. And every year that he's been there, he's performed well. And I think the thing that's cool about the show that kind of gets unspoken, and I noticed it with Kamari's team last year, is that you throw kids on a team and you just give them the same color shirts. They're from 40 different states, and you may have 20 kids on a team, and all of a sudden there's got to be a guy that takes the lead. There's got to be a guy who brings that group together and says that we're a team. We're just not a bunch of guys wearing the same colored shirts. We did our jersey release and the team release a week or so ago, and all of a sudden you start seeing guys communicating with each other throughout social media because they be on the team with this kid. He's one of those kids that brings those kids together, and I'm excited to see Kamari get out there and compete again.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see his development. He was ranked number 3 on our Elite 101 this past fall, and I'm excited to see where he's progressed since last year's the show. And he's another athlete that every time you see him, he's a little bit better, or just a lot better, quite frankly, than the last time you saw him. So I'm definitely excited. Brent, I want to move to one of the trenchmen, a 2022 athlete, and Paul Hutson III. He's been a part of the show for a few years now. Tell me about him.
Yes. You know what? Watching Paul, that's another kid that we've watched develop and grow. And I know that we pay so much attention to the 7-on-7s as a former defensive lineman, former player. You know, the guys in the trenches are the guys that have my heart, because they go out and in the camp setting that we have at the show, it's not just about competing for them. Those guys that run the show are guys. Dwight Johnson from Atlanta is one of the great coaches that oversee the defensive line group. Rob McAllister out of Dallas oversees the offensive line group. John Toller out of Atlanta. We've got a bunch of great coaches that come together. We brought in more coaches because the group, the event has gotten bigger. But watching those kids develop as the offensive and defensive linemen go out and not just compete, but they get trained and developed over that week. They come out better players. It's not just about going out and showcasing your skills. It's about showing that I'm coachable, I can develop, I can compete, and it's really interesting to see, and I can't wait to see him develop. He's gotten a bunch of offers since we started this process, and that's what it's all about. I know for a kid from Flint, Michigan, growing up, I know what my scholarship to the University of Toledo did for me. I know how that changed my life. It changed the path of my life. And I view this as like a ministry. We're touching and changing the lives of these young men. We're touching and changing the lives of these kids by trying to create opportunities for them to gain exposure. So every time a kid gets a scholarship offer, I feel like we've done something that's going to impact not just that young man's life, but it's impacted my kids through my opportunities. And hopefully it impacts their lives for generations to come.
Yeah, and with Paul, I mean, we covered him at Youth1 when he was in 7th grade. I wrote an article on him before he had any offers, and I actually just did an interview with him a couple of weeks ago, catching up with him. And now he has 10 offers. He's grown into a very big young man in terms of muscle and things like that.
Absolutely.
And it's such a pleasure to see him. It's not even about, we covered him first. It's just so amazing to see his progression into the point where now he has schools knocking at his door and want him to be a part of the program.
Absolutely. And I think that the thing that, and the two guys that you highlighted that I know personally that have been a part of the show before, it's not just that they're great players, they have great character. They're the kind of kids that you want to be a part of your program. And that's why we celebrate those kinds of kids. And I'm excited to see their futures. And I know their families are excited and just watching them grow up as young men. So that's the cool part of this whole experience for us.
Yeah, and Brent, the last athlete I want to touch on is the athlete we mentioned earlier, Dylan Lonergan from Georgia, 2023 athlete. Tell me a little bit about his progression in the NextGen system.
You know what, Dylan, 2 years ago, Dylan was a 6th grade quarterback that was like was a really good quarterback prospect. And I think his show experience, his first year, was just okay. And I think it wasn't anything that he did. I just don't think that, coaches get comfortable with certain guys and all of a sudden different guys get used more, and it just happens. So, but instead of pouting, instead of going and complaining, kid went to work. And I know his quarterback coach, I know Tony Ballard works with him closely. Tony has done a lot of work with a lot of quarterbacks in the Georgia area. And I mean, people come from all over. One of our former kids that's a part of Tony's tree is Robbie Ashford, who I tell the story of Robbie all the time, who was the last quarterback selected for the show in our first year of holding the show. And he left with the MVP, and 30 Division I offers later, he's going to Oregon. Great kid. The kind of kids that I love to see, Dylan is that kind of kid, where it didn't all work out the first time that you came to the event. And I came back and I went home and I improved, and I came back and I got better. And then I came back and I got better. Now he's been placed on a team, and we really try to do our due diligence in putting the rosters together. So he's going to play in the Diamond Division this year. He's 2023. That Diamond Division is our highest division. He's going to play in the Diamond Division, and he was placed on the team, but at the time he was placed on the team, he didn't have one offer. And so I put him on the team, and you start to put pieces around him, because this is a good player, but he doesn't have any offers. And we try to spread out the kids that have offers. Now every team has, 5, 6 kids that have at least one Division I offer.
Right.
And then all of a sudden we wait these 5 offers in, and it changes the balance of every team that's on. So we have to do shuffling around. But I'm excited to see his growth and development. I know that one thing that comes out of the experience of the show is that kids leave with great confidence, because they've competed on a big stage and a lot of pressure. And it is a lot of pressure, because I'm asking you to be put on a team, especially the quarterbacks. You're going to be put on a team with 20 other kids that you don't know, and all of a sudden we're going to throw you out there in a high-pressure situation with guys like you and guys like Mike Farrell from Rivals and guys like the 24/7 crew, Ed O'Brien, and all those guys watching you. And it's high pressure, and we're asking you to perform at your best with guys you've never met. And literally, the kids meet the night before for the first time as a team, and it's really just to give out their jerseys and talk through how we're going to organize. And the coaches do a great job. And before the end of that weekend is over, those guys are teams. And it is really, really special to see how they come together.
Yeah. Yeah. And I appreciate you kind of giving the perspective of that, because, sometimes people don't know that about kind of the insights of the event. I know Dylan's a player that we've covered at Youth1. I believe he was somewhere in the 70s on our ranking for the 2023 class. And frankly, he's outplayed that ranking by a lot. And it's so funny when you do these rankings, it's kind of a snapshot in time of where you view that player in that moment. But, players develop, they grow, they get a lot better, and he's progressed really beautifully. And I was impressed by his performance at last year's the show. So I'm excited to see where him and the other great athletes that are attending the show this year, how they perform. It's going to be a great thing to see.
Absolutely. No, that's what it's all about. It's about, and I've had 3 kids that have gone through the experience of being recruited. I say 4, if you count my godson, Armani. My older son, Brennan, played at the University of North Carolina, was drafted in the 3rd round to Houston, and is now living his dream as a WWE wrestler after getting injured in football. My younger son and godson, Armani, both played on the national championship team at Ohio State, and my daughter played college basketball at Penn State. And what you just touched on was, you don't see the adversities that athletes go through, or where you're ranked, or where how does that charge you? So I tell kids all the time, if winning an award at a NextGen camp is like the top of your life, that's not going to be a good life. What are you going to do with that information? Are you going to build on that? If Youth1 ranks you number 70 and you say, well, I'm number 70, I give up. Or do you prove prove everybody's watching this Michael Jordan thing, and they watched him get cut from his high school team. Right. What did he do with that information? What did he do with that feedback? He went and he got better. That's what we want to see. When the kids come to the show and they go out and compete, they're going to lose. As an NFL player, I got beat. What did I do after I got beat? How did I handle that challenge? What did I do with that feedback? What did I do with that information? How did I try to improve? And that's what we want these kids to do. When someone ranks you, I get emails from parents that blame me for your rankings. They'll say, well, how did you rank my kid this? Call Ryan. Don't bother me. I don't rank. Man. We provide a platform for exposure. Call Ed. Call 24/7. Don't call me when your kid is ranked number 100. But I don't care what he's ranked. What did he do with that information? Did that drive him out to the field? Because I know one of the things that I'm excited about during this whole environment, and we're calling, I call it the lemonade environment. We're taking the lemons that COVID has given and we're going to turn this into lemonade. And this lemonade environment, what we're in right now, we got videos of kids sending us, what would you do? What we do while we wait was the hashtag. And we got like 500 videos of kids working out, training, finding ways to safely train and get ready for when this ends and they have to go back and compete. Because what's going to happen for some, if you just sat around and you did nothing, you've just missed out on 3 or 4 months of development. In the life of an athlete, 3 or 4 months is huge. You have to be doing something to get better. And if you're not, the guys that are, they're going to pass you and you might not ever catch them.
Yeah. I mean, the talent at the show is top notch, and I look forward to being there. Hopefully hopefully our society gets to a better place and we can make it happen. Well, Brent, as we wrap things up, is there anything else we should know about NextGen in the show?
We're excited about hosting the show. The thing that we're committed to with our partners, Youth1 being one, our gear sponsor, Battle, all of our partners that work our events, whether it be Teamish, all of those groups that help pull these things together, we're committed to making sure that we're able to execute the event safely. We know the importance of the event, but we also know the importance of the health of the kids and the families that attend it. And if we're able to hold this thing, which I'm hoping and praying that we are, it'll be a little different. Be patient with us, but we're going to make sure that we're able to execute it in a safe manner. And I just want to wish all of you guys, safety. Thank you to those people who are working on the front lines. Those are the heroes that are allowing us to try to get back to a life of normalcy. I appreciate everything that everyone's doing to try to make this happen. Anyone who's been impacted by COVID, I just really pray for them and their families. And I know that we've been all touched by this in some way. And the goal here is I instructed our staff. One of my favorite movies is Forrest Gump. And I look back at the movie when, the big storm hit and Forrest and Bubba were on the ship and it was all rocky, but they were the only ship standing. And then they became the Shrimping Kings. So I view that as this is the opportunity for those who weather this storm, whether it be individuals or athletes or companies that weather this storm in innovative ways like what you're doing. I think this is incredible to reach out to kids. And, you're going to be the Shrimping King when this is all over. Ryan's going to be running. And so that's good. That's a good thing.
Yeah, well, we all just want to give these athletes a platform to showcase their talents. And, I think, I've been doing interviews like you mentioned, and it's just a fun way to kind of keep them engaged and to put a spotlight on them beyond football. Sometimes you don't even get to see what these guys look like because they have a helmet on or
absolutely,
whatever.
Yeah.
So it's nice.
I loved your interviews, and I'm glad we connected. And keep grinding, man. And I'm excited to see. Can't wait to get back on the road and see you at one of those events. So you too, just like me, I got a hat on, trying to hide my COVID cut. I see you sporting your COVID look. But, we're gonna be all right.
Yeah, we're gonna be all right, man. Well, Brent, I look forward to hopefully seeing you at the show, if not an event before that, but hopefully at the show. I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me.
Thanks, man. God bless.